gosh, we have something so special for today. So you're used to seeing Kristen and I's lovely faces on this podcast, but look at this siren that we have brought with us today. I am so excited. So just so you all know who are listening, before Kristen and I are recording this podcast, we just had the most epic conversation with this incredible human being that is joining us on this podcast, and you are in for such a treat. It's crazy. You don't know what you're in for. It's going to be so good. So without further ado, we are going to introduce to you. We have a guest on our podcast, and this beautiful spirit reached out to us, offering her wisdom and her contribution to our community and to our podcast after she heard about our pilgrimage, that we're going on this incredible sacred pilgrimage to hang out with Mary Magdalene. And we're doing this virtually as well as us doing it live. So if you've been listening to the podcast, the last few podcasts, you would have heard Kristen and I speak about this, and we'll dive into how you can join us on that more after we get into this juicy conversation. But Krista is a gift of all things Mary Magdalene. And even just in the conversation we just had, my heart is open and my mind is blown. So I will introduce Krista and then let you hear from her directly. So Krista Marie Miller is the founder of Sovereignty Academy, which you will all want to join, trust me. She is an author, a researcher, an intuitive voice channel, and the creator of the Sovereign Essence Map, which will blow your mind. Her work helps people translate spiritual insight into discernment, self-trust, creative expression, and lived choice. That's so important, the lived choice of it, not just the awareness, but the living embodiment of it. So Krista is a total nerd in the best way. 3 decades of study across so many different traditions. I mean, we've just had a very short conversation with her, and I feel like I learned more in this conversation than the last years. She studies many ancient wisdom traditions, symbolic systems, personal development, and everything has brought her here to this moment. And she has this profound connection to the teachings and the historical legacy of Mary Magdalene and Yeshua. And she is able to really easily and clearly give us these concepts that can feel a little esoteric or out of touch, perhaps, into very practical wisdom that we can live with in our modern life, which is really everything Kristen and I were hoping to bring forth from this beautiful pilgrimage as well. So without further ado, Krista, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And I just can't wait for our audience to hear you and get to know you and join all the things you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so honored because the pilgrimage you guys are about to embark on will be life-changing, not only for you, but for your viewers as well. I know you will be able to bring that frequency in to heal everyone. So thank you for this opportunity to share.
Thank you. And Krista, you just blew my mind when we were talking to you beforehand. And I learned that, or we learned together that Louise Hay met you when you were 16 years old, and she knew intuitively that you could see spirit and hear spirit. And she started to mentor you and take you all over, and you met all of these great spiritual teachers at a very young age. And then eventually that you were mentored by Sylvia Brown.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, what a legacy.
Yeah, it was life-changing. I didn't know who Louise Hay was. I met her at what was called Religious Science at the time in Palm Desert, but this now they're known as Centers for Spiritual Living. And she saw me.
Yeah.
And she was the first adult to actually see me because I had seen spirit my whole life. I started channeling at age 7. This was something that was part of my life, but it was very, my sister was intuitive and she just said, we just keep it quiet. We just don't tell anyone. We just, and my parents knew about it as well, but it was kind of just like, la, 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 we don't talk about it. But Louise was she actually watched me for a couple weeks and like honed in on me. And she was so gifted, and she could see the talent in people like that. And yeah, she approached me and asked me if I had seen spirit. I was freaked out. And she's like, you don't have to say anything. And I was like, like I couldn't even get the words out. I just kind of like nodded. And then she's like, can I ask you one more question? I said, okay. And she's like, do they speak through you? And so she not only knew that I could see spirit, but that I could channel it and speak it. And yeah, the floodgates opened, and I just started telling her all about the teachings of my life and where I was up to that point, and how I was really looking for guidance because I knew there was more. And she got me really comfortable with public channeling. Um, and she kind of threw me in with all these major teachers. And so yeah, I was very blessed.
And you have such a deep relationship with Mary Magdalene. And what also blew my mind is what a deep scholar you are. I mean, Natalie and I were just taking notes of all of the texts that you've read and all that you've studied and how much history you've immersed yourself in. And it's really valuable. So thank you for all of the work and the study that you've been doing. And I know Natalie and I both lit up when you talked about the part of um, what has come through you are these sovereignty pillars that have come from Magdalene's teachings. And it just seems so exciting to give our audience just a taste of these pillars, of whatever you want to share about them. And because I know that Natalie and I, in all of our conversations, we've been very interested in sovereignty and into clearly stepping into our own and encouraging other artists to do the same. And I think where our conversations came in at as artists, we have a desire to encourage other artists, and to be a creator requires your sovereignty. And there's so much in our culture about artists, the industry being extractive of artists and not valuing them as the creators they are. So it's a conversation about empowerment. And I just wanted to give that background as we come into this conversation because I think it will be really helpful because I think right now we need our creators and our artists to fully step into their power.
And I also feel that's why Magdalene's coming online so much, is because she was all about sovereignty. So many people, the church in particular, try to take away her power. And she constantly stood in her own sovereignty. She knew what that meant for her. And so when I began, so at age 10, I was alone. I was being bullied. And I just figured, I'm like, if I could just get my friends to see spirit like I could, like Magdalene had installed so much sovereignty within me, I didn't need to change. Everyone else like just needed to gain the ability to see. And so I kept asking her, like, how am I doing this? How am I doing this? And she's like, well, we can't. She's like, will totally teach you deeper metaphysical trainings. But first, we got to start with the sovereignty pillars. First, we got to get in touch with our emotions and what these emotions mean and how to transmute them. So she began with the sovereignty pillars. And shall I go through them?
Yes, please. So excited.
So we start with the security pillar, and they're not in any particular order. I really see them as four Grecian pillars that kind of bounce energy off of each other. We have one side that is the pillar, and then the other side is the anti-pillar. And so we begin with the security pillar. Security pillar means to know thyself. I mean, this was inscribed above the Oracle of Delphi. It was to know thyself. And to know thyself means to know what your sacred boundaries are, what your astrology is, what your human design is, what your ancestral lineage is. Everything that you can do for personal development is within that security pillar. And also how a big one is how to hold your own boundaries with people. And spirit, we also got to keep that in mind, is that every spirit has an agenda. And so before a spirit wants to talk through you, understand why they're there. Understand what they're doing so you can hold your own sovereignty. I am not Magdalene, I am Krista. But Magdalene speaks through me because of of my security pillar. The anti-pillar to security is worry. When you are in worry, There's something off with you. You're not secure or something in yourself. And so when worry comes in, like, oh my gosh, I'm worried, that, if I'm going to pay this bill or not. Okay, where am I not secure in my life that I'm not going to be able to pay this bill? Maybe I need to step in and find a different creative avenue for funds. And so whenever worry is there, check back in with yourself of what core beliefs and values you have about yourself that might be out of alignment. Then we move into trust. And I call it trust, truth, and faith. We trust, like, the difference is, like, I trust that the sun's going to rise tomorrow. I have faith in my connection with spirit. Trust, security, we begin on the inside. It's an inside job. Trust, we start to trust in things outside of us. We trust in our own intuition, but we also trust in spirit and source, divine timing. The anti-pillar of trust is doubt. If you are in doubt, you're not trusting something. So check back in and be like, oh, where am I off with my faith? What is my truth? Because I'm doubting it. Then we move into safety. The safety pillar is all about expression. This is where, all the juicy artists come in, is like, you are safe to express who you are. You're safe to be, my amazing main spirit guide, Eloise, always says, if you want to wear a beautiful glittery tiara to the grocery store, you are safe to do so. And so it's like, safely express who you are. It's all about expression and sharing who you are. The anti-pillar of safety is shame. If you're in shame, there's something off with your safety. If you're like, oh, I can't wear these amazing glittery platform shoes, like, what will people think of me? Step into your safety pillar and express. So that is that. And then we finally end with honor. The honor pillar is kind of wrapping everything all together, and we honor all that we are. We honor in source or God or universe, whatever you want to call it. We honor this life that we've chosen. No matter how hard it is, we can continue to honor it. And the anti-pillar of honor is guilt. If you are guilting yourself of having a piece of chocolate cake when you should be honoring your body, you honor every single bite of that chocolate cake. Don't go into guilt about how many calories is in it. Honor it. And those are the basics of the sovereignty pillars. And when you wrap them all together, that's how you can stand in your own sovereignty.
Yeah, I am feeling this. I was also actually thinking, because it's so interesting that Magdalene, a lot of her life and teachings were in the south of France. And I feel like I had a personal transformation when I first set foot on French soil and rewrote many of these relationships, like relationship to food, relationship to pleasure, relationship to expression. Very much, I'm looking around this land being like, oh, there's a different me that is alive here than in the conditioned other version that I live out that likes to play a little smaller. It helped that my husband is a chef and he's just like, no, we don't feel guilty about food. That never happens, that kind of thing. But what I'm thinking about really about each of these is as a creator, as whether your art form is writing music, whether your art form is a script, whether your art form is an actor, whether your art form is channeling or, whatever it is that you're about, I can really feel how it's like almost the way that we can hold back or put the parking brake on. Divine is like ready, like, let's go, let's make it, let's do it. It's available. Like the field is ripe and, the universe would love whatever you're going to create. And it almost feels like each of these anti-pillars are places I can see in my own artistry or my own expression. They're just ways that I put the parking brake on myself, not the ways that, 3D reality isn't cooperating with me, the ways that I decide worry or I decide doubt or I decide shame or I decide guilt. And it's just a way to like slow the creation down or make it a little bit more of an uphill battle or make me the overcomer of such things so I can feel worthy of being chosen for this said creation. Could you like speak if that felt like your experience of when you were hearing this, channeling this, crafting this?
Yeah, I really struggled with these sovereignty pillars because I held so much of the anti within me from my own traumatic childhood. And the thing that really brought me out was I I started going to college. I got kicked out of high school my junior year, but luckily I was able to go into independent study, and I had such high testing scores that I was able to do college at the same time. And so I went straight into theater because my parents continually denied me doing anything acting, public, creative, especially with the channeling, because they were just like, don't go into channel. Nope, nope, nope. And so I joined theater, and that's what saved me.
Mm.
That's what saved me, is allowing other characters to come through me and safely express, and then also learning how to release the character. That's a big part that I don't think a lot of teaching schools of acting teach, is like, how do you release the energy after you're complete with the role, because you're literally living and breathing that essence. And so, so many techniques that Magdalene and Yeshua have taught me, Yeshua is Jesus, that have taught me, is how to release that part of myself to bring myself back into sovereignty. You're in sovereign connection with the character because you have made an energetic agreement to take on the character. And then after you're done, even at the end of the day, when you need to go back into your normal life, my easiest way to do that is Magdalene was all about anointing. So I use oils to anoint and to get myself back into the body a lot. Like I use rose and lavender when I'm coming back into, or I eat a cheeseburger. Like ground beef or oils gets me back into the body and reclaim myself, reclaim my own sovereignty of Krista and releasing it. But it's really that simple. You don't need this long ritual of releasing the character. You can just simply dab the oil. I do third eye, front and back of the throat, front and back of the palms, and bottom and top of my feet, and then also the root. And
Mm.
you just sit there and you just hold and you just say, come back to myself, bring
Mm.
myself back. Whatever the character is, you give it honor and grace and say, thank you for serving me. Thank you for helping me tell your story and to help heal and expand, or whatever the character's goal is. You give it honor and grace and say, thank you. You may go now.
Mm. It's so interesting you're saying that because I was telling Kristen, I had a lived experience of this as an actor recently where I was auditioning and playing a woman who was on the run from an abusive partner with a young child, battered, beaten, victimized. And I fully, like a channel, like I fully went into the embodiment of it. I was in it for several hours. And I just then, wrapped up my self-tape equipment, picked up my kid from school, and was playing the Little Mermaid on the playground a few minutes later. That evening, my daughter spontaneously was throwing up. And she wasn't ill. She had no fever. She had no symptoms. She was just throwing up. She was throwing up. And I knew, like intuitive mothering is such a thing. I was like, I did not discharge that energy. And our nervous systems are so co-regulated. She's discharging it because I didn't. And so it wasn't until the next morning when I went for a run and I moved the energy that she was like spontaneously better. And I thought to myself, it's not just, with your co-regulation with, your family members or who you live with. It's with life itself. It's with the industry itself. It's with the creative energy itself that we do have to be very responsible and sovereign with, if we are really going to ask to be a steward of these stories, a steward of this creative energy, that we're also very responsible and honoring of how we hold it and how we release it.
Yes. Yeah, and uh, allowing the release, but it's also, you also got to honor the character too and release your role as a mom or a wife to step back into that character to fully embody it again. So it's a very much almost like, like ping pong, like back and forth, back and forth. And so to be a performer, it takes a lot of energy. And I love that you run in the morning, because running actually puts you into your power body to open yourself up into flow, to engage back into that character. But you could also use it to discharge. I do jump roping, but it's something that is like plyometrics, where you're like boom, 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 boom to discharge. That also works amazingly well, and it could also be a closer and an opener. So, but it's all about intention. What is the intention that you're bringing to the exercise that you're doing?
Mm.
I want to talk about the other side of the pillar. As you were talking, I was like, oh, it's such a fun question to ask yourself is what side of the pillar am I on right now?
Yeah, yeah.
So what do you call again?
The anti-pillar, yeah.
The anti-pillar, right. So I'm curious, when you find yourself or notice, am I stuck on the other side of the anti-pillar? What are some of the things that are helpful into to coming back around to the other side? And so that's one question. And then I have a second follow-up question afterwards.
Okay. I will use another example. Let's so on the so I am mapping out emotions um, of what are anti-pillars and what are pillars and how we can move them. So the one that just popped in for me right now on the trust. So in between the trust and the safety pillar, there is understanding and ignorance. So understanding is the pillar, ignorance is the anti-pillar. And this is actually part of Magdalene's gospel as well. Is ignorance is part of the seven manifestations of wrath that we got to move through. So if you are and being ignorant about something is not a negative thing, because we all I see ignorance as confusion. It's like you just don't have all the details. You don't have all the information. And so when you're like, oh, I reject that, or I reject that behavior, okay, like recognize that, like, okay, why am I rejecting this? How can I move into understanding about what the situation is? How can I do that? And so we use this in the sovereign essence map. Every single person has a unique way of doing this. But one of the easiest ways that is universal to move the energy, to move the emotion, is sunlight. The sun is a very powerful transmitter, and it transmits and it transmutes. It helps grow, and then it also can burn. So it's both. So I just go and get some sun on my face, get that vitamin D, and ask for support from the sun, from energies that work with the sun, and say, help me transmute and move this. And then I start moving, depending if I want to bring more in, I move clockwise around with the sun. If I want to remove it, I turn counterclockwise. And I'm all for, very wham bam, thank you, man, quick, easy rituals. You just do a single turn in either direction and say, I am now moving from ignorance into understanding. And that for me works.
What
I
I love
love
about you, Krista, is that there's so this, and you say it in your bio. It's like I can take these esoteric, these like gigantic energetics and make it very practical. Like that is really like a soul signature of you that I think is really needed in this moment in time. Like here's the big thing, and then here's the 5 second thing I can do to like start moving it, or yeah.
So that's what Magdalene's all about. Magdalene, like all the rituals and things that she was always taught, I've never seen them take longer than a minute. It's always just, anointing, boom, done, you're good to go. And so I got to give honor and grace to her. She's teaching me all this. And a lot of these teachings always goes back to Egypt. And so that's where I pull a lot of my information from, and through Magdalene.
I want to get your take on this. When it comes to the anti-pillar, some of those things that you mentioned, like doubt or guilt, I think, or how I've been thinking of them recently is that some of them feel almost like entities sometimes that
Mhm.
get like passed down our ancestral lineage,
Mhm.
um, and then they're ours to transmute.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to get your take on that because that's what it feels like sometimes when transmuting the anti-pillars.
Yep.
Like,
So, especially along the ancestral line, paternal and maternal carries this unique frequency. The more you give into an anti-pillar, it gains consciousness. So, can it become into an energy or an entity? Yes, it can. It, like your shame can come. I mean, this is where, in my belief, poltergeists come from. When poltergeists, when there's activity, it's usually there's a teenager around because they cannot control their emotions. And so all their emotions gets put into this energy that starts causing havoc. And so when you have an entity outside of yourself that is taking on all of your emotions, it's because you're not claiming them and you're not saying, okay, no, this is mine. I can handle this. I truly believe spirit, God, source will never give us anything we can't handle. And so we learn to start disassociating and creating and literally taking these emotions out and putting it all this energy that can become an entity and that can gain consciousness. All my teachings are about consciousness and the subconscious of how we can work with both. So when that does occur, it's all about just reclaiming yourself and saying, okay, and maybe this can go through your mental health practices, seeking out help. A lot of the times when we gets to the point where you you literally have an energy or an entity that's outside, you probably need professional help, and I'm all for it. But there's so many different techniques. I think EMDR works amazing for moving that energy and getting rid of the energy or entity. But always remember, you are in charge. No one that this energy, like I hear all the time my clients say, she's giving me a headache. I say, why are you allowing it? You
yeah,
are allowing it for some reason. She's like, no, 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 they're making me do it, or they have this, they're putting bad energy on me. Stop. You're allowing it for some reason. So come back to yourself and say, why am I allowing it?
yeah, something that I see in my clients, a lot of it can be, especially for artists, self-doubt. And
Mm.
and the feeling that I receive, it's not even their self-doubt. It's self-doubt that's been passed down from generation to generation. So now they have this like heavy fog of self-doubt that isn't even their self-doubt. And it feels like the reason I use entity is like it has an energy like all its own that
Yeah.
feels heavier than the action. You know what I mean? It's like this isn't mine. This is, so I get curious about um, how we work with those to break them or to get on the other side of the pillar. Yeah. But
To get,
I
go
love what
ahead.
you're saying about coming back to self and remembering the power of self.
Mhm. So you're asking again how to come back to self?
Yeah, or like when you notice, like imagine being an artist and having like so much self-doubt that it starts to feel crippling.
Okay.
What would you say to someone like that who's trying to get back into a sense of security and a sense of knowing their value and worth?
I truly strongly believe in ancestral DNA that is held in the codons of our I mean, it's part of the sovereign essence map. I don't think there's a coincidence that there are 64 codons that encode our DNA, and there's 64 hexagrams in the I Ching. And there's 64, this number all around. And so part of my sovereign essence map that I have channeled is how to take those. A codon is made up of 3 amino acids, and I tie them into a sovereignty pillar. And how each unique person can move the energy through connecting in with their sacred DNA and reprogramming it by saying, like, for instance, instead of a gate in human design, I call them a portal. So in portal one, the amino acid is AAA, which I've translated into honor, honor, honor. Move into that honor if you want to transmute the energy of all that guilt. Honor,
Mm.
honor, honor, 3 times. So everyone's going to move this energy completely differently. And that's where the sovereign essence map comes in, is like you're going to start learning about your unique thumbprint of how to move this energy. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it really did. Thank you. That was super helpful. I really
And
appreciate
I love that it's like in the same way, like if you're a writer, like the idea for a particular story is going to come through you. And it's like almost what I'm feeling as you're speaking is like, and then inside that story, there's going to be the pillars and the anti-pillars you're going to meet in being the vessel of that story. And they're perfectly coded for the thing that you're here to do, to have you have the evolutionary experience of who you're here to be. It's not like something to avoid or be like, it's all going wrong because I'm an anti-pillar. It's like, no, this particular thing has come through to have you work through exactly this thing. This is all according to plan, you know?
I mean, you came into this body with a unique DNA code. I study a lot of mitochondrial DNA from our maternal line. And then we get all these code signatures, and so it's all about ancestral. And bringing it back to acting, I feel that each role you take on, you are healing a part of your ancestral lineage.
Mhm.
There is something that you are transmuting by finally someone safely expressing the story, whether it be abuse, whether it be abandonment. You're safely expressing and taking on that character, but you're also healing generations behind you and generations before you as well. So yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
feel
what do you, yeah, go ahead,
Oh,
Krista.
I feel like that's true for writers as well. As you're
Oh yeah.
writing the story, each story you're writing is healing past, traumas, past wounds. Go ahead, Nat.
Just so excited. It's like a
No, I
all the
know.
thing. Um, so Krista, thinking about the fact that Kristen and I, Kristen is a director, a writer, a producer, a creator, a coach for other creators in that field. I'm an actress and an acting coach, and so like we're kind of like we've always brought together these we're both in these creative endeavors, but we've both always had different unique paths of it. And what Kristen and I have found, and we've done retreats together before, we do this podcast together, obviously, but what's always been, I think, sort of the magic or like the essence of what we bring when we're together is that we have these different lanes that we're in, and often our curriculum will show up different in our life. Like Kristen will say, here's what I'm going through, and my curriculum will be very, very different, but it's the same medicine, or it's the, you know what I mean, the same thing is happening, it's just coming at us in different places. And so there's a uniqueness in the energy that we both knew this is the time for us as creatives in our own life, in our own vocation, but also in how we want to empower other artists. There was a way that Magdalene came in strongly for both of us of like, now is the time. And I would love to know from you, who have such an intimate understanding of her and connection to her, why do you think that is, that she's coming in so strongly for us and for, those who might want to do this with us?
Yeah. So Magdalene's first followers in southern France were called the Cathars. And they were unfortunately massacred and burned, mass burnings. But the last Cathar that was burned at the stake was said in 800, oh gosh, 700, 800 years, in a specific amount of time, the time returns. And that was in August of 2021. So he proclaimed, he said the laurel will turn green again, because the laurel was a tree that the Cathars really honored, and they went with the rhythm of the tree. And there's a place in southern France called Montsegur. And at the base of the mountain, right where they were burned, there is this laurel tree. And it had been just dormant. And in August of 2021, it started rebursting and coming back to life. So these teachings of the Cathars, these teachings of Magdalene, the way of love, the way, it's coming back because the time returns. The time returns and it's now. And so we are in, and I think everything happens in this 7-year journey. So we're in it right now. We're in this transmutation. Magdalene's coming to so many people. And I really want to point out Magdalene has so many voices, and each one of our voice of saying what Magdalene is important. We all have a piece of her. She is a beautiful mosaic. Not one person can tell all the stories of Magdalene. We are each bringing in that unique point of her. And so it's all important. And it's the time. The time is now. You guys are going right here, right now, in August, September of this year. There is going to be a frequency. She's calling, and there will be lessons, and beautiful transformations. And I can't wait to follow you and watch your journey unfold. I'm getting emotional because it's just Magdalene's life changing, and she doesn't do anything soft. So buckle up, Buttercup. Like, here we go.
Yeah, we it's I mean interesting for you to tell the experience of the Cathars because yeah, it does feel and I've been saying this for a while, there are people that are burned by the fire and people that are built by it.
Yeah.
And it does feel like there's a little ring of fire here that we're about to walk through.
It's holy fire though. You
Yeah.
you you won't get burned too bad because it's it's the phoenix. It rises again. We must be burned down in order to be born again from the ashes. It's all part of our life cycle, especially as women.
When you went to the south of France, and I know that you've been a few times,
Mhm.
um, uh, what are some of the things that hit you that
Mm.
really felt revelations you had? Anything that you might want to share with us about that pilgrimage, as in terms of your personal experience that you think might be universal?
Yeah. So when I was about 12 years old, I really started getting into the subconscious and hypnosis. I'm a certified clinical hypnotherapist. And I fell so in love with the subconscious, and I did my first past life regression. And in it, I saw myself as I feel so. Saint Sarah is the person who met Magdalene when she arrived at the shore of in Provence. And I Saint Sarah was queen of the gypsies. She was a Roma gypsy queen. And I believe in this past life, I was a member of her tribe. And I got to see Magdalene teach in this past life memory. And when the hypnotherapist asked me, "Where are you?" I said, "Rain on the chateau." Again, I was 12 years old. And of course, the hypnotherapist had no idea what I was talking about, but they wrote it down. I had an amazing librarian at my local library when I was a kid. This is where I learned all my research. She just kept feeding me books. And when I went in and told her about my past life regression, I had just gotten done reading Gone with the Wind, and so she knew I could handle books. And when I told her about Rain on the Chateau, and she knew my connection with Magdalene, she's like, "Read this book," and it was Holy Blood, Holy Grail. And so I read that at 12 years old, and that's the first time I started making the connection that Magdalene is real. Magdalene is real. And that's when I, of course, learned it was Rain Le Chateau, not Rain on the Chateau, Rain Le Chateau. And so I held that determination. I will get to Rain Le Chateau sometime in life. One time I'm going to get there. And so I held on to that since I was 12 years old. So I thought, I'm so connected to Magdalene. I'm so connected to spirit. I thought for sure the moment I stepped foot on that soil, I would have massive downloads. I'd have all these aha moments. And I got there, especially at Rain Le Chateau, and it was crickets. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I thought for sure I'd be so, yes, I mean, I felt like I was home, but it was just quiet. And so it was because the land tests you, especially Rennes-le-Chateau. A lot of people say it's a dark place. I don't see that at all. Rainlight Chateau has its own history and amazing connection with Magdalene, but it was just so interesting just how quiet, and I normally am not quiet or quiet within my consciousness. So that's what was shocking. And I had to learn how to slow down and have patience and to work with the land and to gain trust from the land, from the elements that are working all around, because everything is watching you and everything's saying, are you ready? Are you ready? You know, as soon as you walk into Rainlay Chateau, you see what a demon who is greeting you. His name is Rex Mundi or Asmodeus. And he's saying, leave all your earthly possessions behind here at the door before you enter into the sacred, give it all to me. And so that's kind of like what the land does is say, release it all because you need to be an empty vessel in order to receive. So that's what shocked me the most.
Mm. Yeah, it's the same thing with the creative process, isn't it? It's like expect the unexpected. Like you become a writer, an actor, a creator, an entrepreneur, whatever, with one thought in mind of how it's going to be and how it's going to transform you, and it always puts you on your ass in a way you didn't expect.
Totally. It's like you thought it would be this way, haha.
It's a lot like love.
A lot
Oh,
like love, yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And Mary is really, I mean, literally wrote the book on love. That's really a lot of what she's here. And if I also think about where we are right now with such a degree of um separation, such a degree of false narratives, such a degree of illusion. And I do really feel her potency of saying, no, we're not playing that game.
Mhm. She taught me that because love and fear are two different spectrums. Love is when any two or more pillars are in place. Two more sovereignty pillars are in place. Love is present.
Mm.
If there are any two or more anti-pillars, fear is there. So if you're in fear, look of like, okay, what two anti-pillars do I need to transmute back into love?
Mm.
So yeah, she was all about moving away from fear, not letting fear run your life, and moving back into love.
I really feel there's such a potency, Krista, in what you offered with the sovereignty pillars. And I'm just thinking about like if you're sitting writing and you're stuck, or if there's a piece of music that wants to come through and it's like, I can't quite get it, or like you're about to do your audition tape and you can't remember your lines and you're freaking out about it. Like it's almost that thing of like, okay, what what anti-pillar is here?
Mhm.
Like what's going on? Like do not pass go, do not try to write another word, do not try to just film another one and hope it transforms, like hope it magically gets better. It's like I really feel the potency and the practicality of using the pillars of saying like, okay, whatever's happening, I'm not actually stuck. I'm making a choice for something that is anti the creative process. And so why I'm making what the choice is I'm making and why I'm making it is going to alchemize this process and get me back into love or get me back into honoring or I think it's why sometimes our best work as actors is when you're the reader for someone else and the spotlight's not on you because it's devotional and it's honoring of the process of the storytelling. So you immediately get out of your own way because you're back into, enforcing the pillars of love. So I actually just think for anybody listening, whatever it is that is your creative vocation, I think Krista, your pillars are so profound, and I can feel the layers of, even if you just contemplate them, I can feel how much further they can go. And I know you're giving us like the little amuse bouche version of it, but I know it's like such a big soup to enter into. But even just from a very first practical standpoint, from anyone listening today, I do feel like it gives you like a very practical, like, whatever is going on with you, you have the power to alchemize it really with just this awareness.
It's yeah, just with the awareness. And there's many ways you can alchemize that I talk about in the Sovereign Essence map. We each have all this unique frequency. of how to do it solely for ourselves. But alchemization is one of the big teachings within that as well. But it's all tied, yeah, it all ties back to the sovereignty pillars. And Magdalene started with that for a reason.
Mm.
Krista, thank you so much for this offering that you have given to us and to our listeners. Your knowledge is, and your wisdom is so beautiful. Um, can you please tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, so I'm Krista Marie Miller across all platforms, even my website. Pretty easy. But my community that I am building is called Sovereignty Academy, and it is on the school platform, SKOOL. So you just do school.com/sovereignty academy. And that's where I have all my teachings and everything is growing. That's where you can get your own personalized sovereign essence map. We have just launched into beta testing an interactive map where journaling can come up, where you can start to journal about all this as well. And it saves it for you and saves your progress. And then you can start sharing and building that community. So check out, yeah, Sovereignty Academy is the best place to reach out to me.
So
Thank you.
exciting. And just for our audience, Krista just like before we press record was like, ooh, Mary's already channeling through me and she has messages for you, Kristen and Natalie. And we were like, so like just this opening that you have offered us, Krista, and obviously Kristen and I are very intentionally entering this pilgrimage, not only for our own soul essence, but really as community. Like it's really important for us that we're doing this as community. Not everyone can get on a plane, not everyone can go to those sites. And so I feel the potency of Mary is available to anybody, and her codes and what she's here to offer is available to anybody. Like it's like she's the opposite of elitist. It's only if you have money to travel to France you can get it. I feel like, and that was part of our intention of creating this pilgrimage. Where for those of you that haven't heard us talk about this yet, Kristen and I are going to go to the sacred sites. We're going to go on a pilgrimage, and we're offering the opportunity for people to join us virtually, where we will every day be giving videos and meditations and activations and what we're receiving. And so there's an opportunity. And again, Kristen and I are not scholars of Mary Magdalene, as Krista is. We are artists and creatives who are devoted to what we're hearing and witnessing and learning, who want to share it from a just here's what we're getting, the intuitive place of it, with obviously a lot of deep respect to learning from people like Krista, what's really here to learn, and what wants to have light shone on it. So if you're just sitting here and listening to any of this and feeling, these pillars are something I can feel myself being called into deeper, or Mary Magdalene is something I feel called into deeper. I've had maybe a misaligned relationship with that because of church or dogma, or I just have never thought of her before, or is, as Krista said, like the time is now. There's a potency of right now. So we want to invite you to that. So that will also be in the show notes if you are interested in joining us. And Kristen and I are actually doing a free call on the 28th. And if anybody wants to join us, we'll put that in the show notes as well. So you can come and just learn more about what the pilgrimage is actually going to look like if you're interested. So go and join the Sovereignty Academy. Come hang out with Kristen and I virtually in France. And, life-changing things are afoot. So we'll see what happens.
Life-changing things are afoot. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Krista. One thing I think that is going to stay with me from our conversation today is just how you talked about choice, and that like remembering the pillar, like remembering the truth of who we are, is a choice and a decision that we keep coming back to. So I think sometimes when we find ourselves on the other side of the pillar, when we find ourselves in an anti-pillar, we don't realize because unconsciously we've made a choice, but that we can always like step back into the integrity of who we are. So just thank you so much for what you gave us today. I'm really grateful.
Oh, thank you to both of you. Like, it's such a blessing, and I can't. I'm so just go with a curious mind and open heart, and I'm so excited to follow your journey.
Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for being committed to showing up for your dreams.
If you would like to know more about what we are up to or find more information about our podcast, upcoming retreats, or anything else, please go check out our website, www.thecreateseries.com.
And you can come and jam with us on Facebook. I know, we're still on Facebook. We have a Create community page, and that's Create, C.R.E.A.T.E.
And if you want to check us out on Instagram, you can find me, Natalie, at Miss Natalie Roy.
And you can find me at Hangilove. That's HANGGILOVE.
Keep on rocking your dreams, and we can't wait to connect with you more.